everyone. Welcome back inside the film room. I'm Zach Goins, and today I am joined by Emmy-winning actress Jane Krakowski. She plays Bobby Flanagan on this season of Apple TV Plus's Emmy-winning musical theater comedy Schmigadoon. Jane, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited. This season was so much fun of Schmigadoon turning into Schmicago, and
Yeah.
part of that reason was because we got so much more of Jane Krakowski. You had one episode, one scene in a couple scenes, I guess, in the
Yeah.
first season. I know Cinco said you were only around for about 2 days of filming. What was it like to really dig into a bigger role, be there throughout the season, and be on set a whole lot more with this amazing cast?
Well, it was such a pleasure. I mean, obviously, we were very excited to get a second season. And it was wonderful to find out that we'd all be coming back but playing different characters, which I think
Mhm.
is a great device and something that doesn't happen very often. So to be sort of like his troupe of merry musical players was
Right.
super fun for all of us. And then there was that moment where you open the scripts and you're like, okay, I know we're doing the musicals of the 60s and 70s. Who will I be?
Right.
Maybe, could I be Sally Bowles still? Maybe not. Will I be Roxy Hart? We all were sort of, I think, fantasizing in our head what Cinco would come up for us. But I sort of never saw Bobby Flanagan coming. So
Mhm.
when I first read the script, my mouth was, had opened and had fallen, but I was also just so excited at this idea and this great role that he had written for me. And of course, the gender swap of not being Billy Flynn,
Yeah.
but being Bobby Flanagan. My greatest memory of opening the scripts of season two for the first time was not only being so excited about what role he had written for me, but just how clever it was written. If you
Mhm.
know musicals, there are so many intricate references and jokes and Easter eggs for those people that are that kind of fans that it was. I just kept reading it, going, how does he know musicals this well? How does he know all
Right.
of this?
Even
So
even if you know musicals, you don't know musicals until you watch this because there are so many layers, so many levels to it that you thought you knew musicals, and then you still pick up on something with every rewatch. But the
kind
the
of, yeah.
the character, the Billy Flynn spin, for the record, Jaime, who has played Billy Flynn, said that when I was talking with him, he said, I believe he said, "Damn you, Jane Krakowski." He was so upset that you had ruined this character by setting the bar so high with the take on Bobby Flanagan. But there's
It's
quite
hilarious.
literally, go ahead.
The sweet Hybie, that is so sweet of him.
He was just jealous that you had taken his thunder, but you set the bar quite literally high. You come in on a trapeze, you have rollerblades, you have sparklers, you're doing the splits. The scene is just fantastic. You're getting so much love for it, very deserved. But when you're coming up with like all of the ridiculousness that went into that, was there a certain element? I know you went to trapeze school for this. Was there something that, was the most fun or the most ridiculous to incorporate as far as just the crazy stuff you're doing?
Well, it started with Cinco kind of exhausting my special skills list that's on the bottom of my resume. And we were like, okay, what kind of things do we know you can do? And of course, the roller skating was something that I've learned how to do because I made my Broadway debut on roller skates in a show called Starlight Express. So there's a bit of a meta joke there,
Mhm.
a little Easter egg for the people that know. Um, and the trapeze was really special because it had said that she enters on a trapeze, which of course I was like, this is, a great entrance, obviously. But then there was no other reference to it. So I asked him if by chance, before the date of filming came up, if I could go to trapeze school and learn a few more tricks, would they be up for filming it? And he was like, yeah, well, go see what you can learn and
Absolutely.
a little show and tell, show us what you learned at school and bring it back, which I did. And they were like, yeah, we'd love to add that in. So the scenic designer had to open the ceiling. There was only you know, the amount was open just for my entrance. Then they opened the whole ceiling so we could hang the trapeze to swirl around the whole room. I am so fully aware that this is a pretty much a once in a lifetime kind of number that's been custom written for me. And that's why
Mhm.
it's so special to me. And I'm so thrilled that I got the chance to film it because there's not many shows that are going to come along where we get to fly from the ceiling and roller skate and do the splits and have sparklers and tap dance and,
And go to
all the
trapeze school.
quads.
Like that's not a normal thing.
It's not a normal request for, the average role that I get. So it's a very special experience. My other favorite thing about putting this number together was working with Chris Gattelli, who is our amazing choreographer, who I think has done absolutely stunning work in both seasons. In this season, I felt that he had researched so much of the vocabulary of the musicals of that time that he was able to pick and choose which character should have kind of what choreographer's vocabulary of the time. I mean, obviously, Dove Cameron is fully embodying the Sally Bowles role and
Right.
does such numbers that I admire and love so much, like on the chair and the odes to Liza.
You both have very impressive splits going on.
Yes, I know there's a double chair split. We're gonna have to have a split off one day. That was really wonderful. And also even just the big spender number, which is Do We Shock You? Those steps are so iconic to the original number, but yet it's Chris Gattelli's own slant. With my number, I wanted to pay homage to Cheetah Rivera and to Gwen Verdon and the women who had been in Chicago before. So we were able to add in some actual steps from the Hot Honey Rag, which is the closing number of Chicago, which I've always wanted to learn, whether I only did it in my living room or like for people who pay. So it was kind of amazing that he could add in that vocabulary for me, knowing that I always wanted to learn that and sort of handpick the steps that we loved from other women who had done the roles prior and pay homage to them.
It's so interesting to hear you talk about that because, for a more casual viewer, you can pick up on the different lyrical references or musical references, and then to even think that, okay, we're referencing these three musicals, and then we've got three different musicals we're referencing with the dance moves. So like you said, there are just so many layers to it all. But outside of just the bells and whistles of your character, I think that Bobby is one of the funniest characters on the show, partially because of the way that she is written, but also your performance is a huge part of that. And I was curious, is there a particular line or quip that she has that really stuck with you? Because I know for me, season one, when we got the Countess, of course I'm a Nazi. That had me cackling in season one, stuck with me. Was there anything like that for you in season two?
Well, she's got so many great lines, so it's kind of hard to pick. I think when Cecily starts to cry and she says
Here, there, that part.
that one, but I think it's in that same scene as she says, Are you emotional or do you have something contagious? I'd prefer the latter.
I watched that part last night again before this, and I was cracking up. So I'm glad you picked that one.
I think that's my favorite. But Here, there. I was raised by cold birthday check writers is a good one. Very, very character descriptive. And then of course, I feel like I've finally gotten to the stage where I've earned to say hello, boys. When I enter the prison scene. Have I really gotten to that stage? I've earned to say hello, boys. I think I have, and I'm really happy with it. I've waited my whole career to say that.
I do love I think it's in the finale when you start to stand up to intervene with Krat as his lawyer, and then he turns the gun to you and you sit right back down. That's also a great moment.
Yeah.
But in this cast, I know you're a veteran coming back from season one, but still we got a much larger role. But you did have a new castmate in Titus Burgess, who obviously you are tremendously close with, going back to 30 Rock, to Kimmy Schmidt. You've got Center of the Universe this summer. What is it about that relationship together that keeps you two coming to work together? Was he jealous of you in season one and needed to get in on it with season two?
I wish I could say I had a hand in bringing him in for season two. I think they knew how talented Titus was, and he seemed like a perfect fit to be added into our company. Titus and I now have a joke that we don't do jobs without each other. It feels like we are continually being hired together. I assume it's a sense of comedy styling or comedy timing that seems to put us together. And we also do a lot of musical work together. So I thought Titus did such an amazing job, not only joining our company, but his performance is so funny and so sharp-witted. Um, and of course, he then sings those insane notes.
Right.
Just be like, everyone would sing that the octave down, but his natural talent brings it that octave up where you're just like, blows your mind every time he sings.
Yeah.
I adore him. And, our first thing that we all shot together was the opening number,
Mhm.
where, he was sort of thrown in as the star of that number. And we were all just so blown away. I'd never seen him dance really in the roles we had done together. So I was blown away with his Fosse moves and nailing that whole style.
It's quite the
Um,
introduction for him to get welcomed into the cast with a leading number like that.
I know, and it is welcome to Schmicago. I mean, it is the kickoff for the whole series this time round. But he did such an awesome job, and I just love spending time with him. We have a lot of history, a lot of love for each other, a lot of support, a lot of inside jokes that always make us laugh when we're at that moment where maybe we need
Mhm.
that to keep getting through the hours of the day.
Awesome. Well, you can totally tell on screen, but I've got a quick one here for you. This is obviously a TV show, so it's not a real production on stage. But if there were to be a Schmicago musical, if you were an understudy and could step into a different role for one night only, what cast member, what character would you like to play here? You've mentioned the Jenny Banks character a little bit, so I'm curious
Yeah,
in that way.
yeah. Well, just selfishly, because I've always wanted to perform those numbers, I think I would pick that. Also, Jenny Banks gets to be in the hippie hair side as well. She
A little
gets
bit
to
of both
fall
worlds, yeah.
from like the Weimar Berlin and the hippie hair part. So yeah, I guess I would want to be Jenny Banks, I think, but I wouldn't want to have to. This is the problem. If we've already seen Dove, I wouldn't want to because I think she did it to perfection, and I would look like Jenny Banks's grandmother doing it after
I'm
her.
pretty
So,
sure she said Bobby Flanagan though when I asked her the same question. So if we just get alternate endings, swap these two characters, I'm sure it would be fantastic both ways.
I know we both have said that if we, by any luck of the draw, we get a season 3, that we would love to do a number together because we have
That would
never
be
done
too
a
much star
scene.
power.
We haven't done a scene or a song together. So we were in that sort of like the full cast lineup of the opening number, but even on opposite sides of that, even that. So we have both put in a request with Cinco if there is future seasons that we get to do something together.
We
That was
need
kind of the joy of this year. Season 1, I did all my stuff with Cecily, which I love doing, and we had an instant comedy chemistry that I'm so grateful for because we both just slipped into the comedy dialogue and material so easily. And I didn't get to work with Keegan in season 1 at all. And so when I read that I was obviously going to be his lawyer and defend him, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, I get to be with Keegan because I am such a big fan of his that I was so happy to get some screen time and some scene time with him this year. That's part of the fun of the device. We can all swap around and
Yeah,
work with
everybody
other
had sort
actors.
of a different pairing this time around than what they had last time. But we need a season 3 for multiple reasons. But I think a scene between you and Dove Cameron is like at the top of the list. That would be the best part. But I know this is a fun one here for you. Let me set the stage here. We're out. We're having a good time. We're at a bar. There's karaoke and it's musical theater karaoke. What is your go-to show tune that you are singing anytime you grab the mic?
Oh, a show tune. Oh, what would
You
I?
can, I guess you can go bells and whistles now since that's an official show tune.
Oh my gosh. We all, when we did season 1, we were not able to socialize outside of filming because we were still under very strong COVID restrictions. So we
Mhm.
would literally be masked up and covered until they called action, and then we'd put them right back on when they called cut. And we weren't able to socialize at all. When season 1 came out, when they had the premiere, it was the first time we were all able to go out together. And we went to Alan Cummings Club
Okay.
here in New York City, and everyone got up and did musical numbers. And I was like amazed to see what everybody picked. Alan did like the Princesses of Disney, which was, brought the house down,
Yeah.
obviously. Dove and Ariana just whipped into Rent. They did a duet from Rent. I was like, what? Like these people had this, they have this in their back pocket? Like, how did they like pull these numbers out?
So
So
my hypothetical question has happened in real life, you're telling me?
this happened in real life. Yeah. This wasn't just like my dream fantasy or something. We actually went out on that night. So I didn't get up that night and I'm like, all right, I gotta, with this crowd, I feel like I gotta work on my Broadway ready to go to show tunes so I could like knock it out of the park with these guys.
Amazing. Well, I'll give you some time to think on that next time, for a season 3 premiere when you go to
Okay,
Alice Club again, you'll be ready.
gonna
But
work on it.
last question here, with Schmigadoon, you have brought musical theater to Apple TV Plus. Now, if we were to flip the script and take an Apple TV Plus original outside of Schmigadoon to Broadway, which one do you think would have the best chance to be a successful musical adaptation? You've got Morning Show, Ted Lasso, Severance, a whole lot of really good shows that I think would have some potential up there.
Totally. I'm sort of leaning toward Ted Lasso just because I don't know. It's like giving me a little like a little musical vibe, but also a little like take me out with all the hot, sexy men.
I mean, you could have like a great musical number with the soccer team dancing. Like it writes
Yeah.
itself, I feel
Little
like.
damn Yankees, like the team and the, and Hannah.
Oh, Hannah could just bring the house down.
She's a West End star, and but I'm gonna have to work my way into this because I've always wanted to work with her, and I think we would get along like this. So
That would be
I'm a big fan
fantastic.
of hers. So we need some like show-stopping duet. That's what I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, amazing. Well, we'll have to cast you when Ted Lasso hits Broadway. Get Hannah out there, get Jane Krakowski out there, and the tickets will sell themselves. It'll be perfect. But Jane, thank you so much for coming by. It was great to talk Schmigadoon with you. I love this season. I loved your performance, and I'm excited to watch it throughout award season and hopefully into season 3.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk with you today. I love this show, so it's fun for me to talk about it.
Absolutely.